it's unknown to a lot of people. It's only your podcast local unknown. It's definitely one of the unknown place.
Welcome to Locales Unknown. This podcast gives you the tools you need to choose your next travel destination and the tips you want to be able to explore like a local. Here are your hosts, Chris and Winfield.
So when's the last time you thought about jumping over to West Africa? I don't know about you, but it is not usually up there as far as my first 1, 2, or 3 on the bucket list. But after today's interview, you might find that that's going to change. So we have the privilege of talking to my good friend and former roommate, actually, Agbessi, and he's from West Africa. He's from the Togo, Ghana region, and he goes all into detail about the area, the life, the village culture, and just the heavy influence that Europe has had on it. Super excited to bring you guys this interview. We had an awesome time talking to him. He's just an amazing guy. And I think you guys are really going to like this one.
This one is truly one for the ages, just because, as Chris said, it's a region of the world that is often unexplored. We dive into all kinds of things that you need to know, food, logistics, all of the ins and outs of this part of the globe, and you're really going to enjoy it. So without further ado, here's our interview with Agbessi.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locales Unknown. I am your host, Chris, and I'm joined here with my co-host, Winfield, and I am experiencing a blast from the past here because we're sitting over Google Meets right now with a former roommate of mine. When we were back in Washington, D.C. area, we were actually in the Arlington area just across the river. But before we hit the record button, we were talking about how we were living large on the 20th floor of this high-rise building. And since then, we're all kind of looking around at our surroundings, wondering, why did we even leave that place? So welcome, Agbessi. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you being here.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad to join you guys, have some conversation and talk about old times, shed some light on the travel. And any question you have, I'll try to answer to the best of my ability, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely, man. It's real casual for sure. First off, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that it's obvious you're making your way south as time goes on here. So before you were in the Arlington area, you were coming from Boston, too cold there. Stuck around DC for a while, and I guess you're just ditching the jacket now because you're down in sunny Miami, which is a totally different world from everything else, huh?
Yes, it is. It's the tropic here. I just find out that I really cannot rely on the weather app anymore because it rain here like crazy. it doesn't show up on the apps and it just start raining. I'm like, well, it doesn't say it's gonna rain. It just
That's hilarious. I'm sitting in Jacksonville, Florida. Winfield's on the Gulf Coast over there in the St. Pete area. And I don't know about you, Winfield, but here on the east side of Florida, it seems like 3 o'clock on the dot. Whether the sun's out or not, it just hurricanes. 20 minutes later, the birds are chirping. Alligators are back wandering around. It's kind of crazy.
No, indeed. And it was the same yesterday. It was full sun out. We just went through a couple clouds that were completely downpours and just absolute deluge, and then not even half a mile up, it was sunny and humid again. So welcome to South Florida. Or the tropics. I guess I'm Central Florida, you're North Florida, so all 3 regions.
Yeah, cover all 3 regions indeed. Yeah.
And before the episode turns into all about Florida here, we definitely we wanted to bring Agbessi on because, I don't know why, but for the longest time, Agbessi, whenever you talked about home, it was just West Africa. And I always wondered, what does it mean, West Africa? What's going on here? Hey, come on, tell me a little bit more. And I remember even when we were living together, you made a trip back home. And
I did.
On some of the things. So
So West Africa, most people, when they ask you, oh, where you from? You say West Africa. Kind of like trying to centralize, give them an idea. Okay, think of Africa. You got Eastern Africa, you got Western Africa, South Africa, of course, right? So Western Africa is kind of a collection of mostly Francophonic or French colonized country, right? With the exception of Ghana, Liberia, and of course Nigeria, of course, right? Those are the two exceptions. So if you look at the Sahara regions, like anything below that is kind of considered West Africa, right? And anything north of Sahara Desert is kind of like, oh, North Africa, Tunisia, Morocco, etc. So I was born basically in Ghana, which is Accra, Newtown, which is the capital city of Ghana. So my mom is from Ghana, and my dad is from Togo, which is the next country over, which is like small little slanted country between like Ghana and Benin. It's like a banana, basically. It's like most people can't, you miss it if you're not looking for it, basically on the map. And so my dad met my mom in Accra, Newtown, and that's how I came to be, right? Me and my sister, of course. So I was born there. Then I was about a year older. You know, my dad decided that he's going to travel because he was working for like some embassy, like I think English embassy. So he was traveling around the western part of the region, like mostly African countries in the western part of Africa. So he was like, "There's no way for me to take my kid with me." So he decided to leave me and my sister with my grandparent who lives in Togo. So basically, I was born in Ghana, lived there less than a year, and I remember because I'm a little kid, 1 year old. What do you remember? And we moved to Togo, where my grandparents live on my paternal side. So that's where I grew up. So it's funny how both countries are, because if you think of it, before colonization and before World War II, Ghana is mostly English colony, right? And Togo, which has a good chunk of land, was a German colony, right? So before that, the German, everything in the country was colonized, and German were mostly in charge of the infrastructure and developing a lot of the colony, basically. So, again, the World War II happened, the German lost, right? So when the German lost, you had the Treaty of Versailles, right? The Treaty of Versailles, basically the loser you go home, and the winner, the English, which is the Allies, they decide to, take over the spoil, right? And one of the spoil is that Togo, being a German colony, was sacrificed as, okay, the French would take half of it, and half will go to the English side. So the country was split up. And basically, if you look at the Togo and Volta region, which is the Ghana and Togo border, it's basically a divided country by the Europeans. On the other side, it's mostly Ewe speaking folks, which is the dialect that I speak. And those are the people that live in Ghana proper, but it's actually Togo. So a lot of my parents, my grandparents' farms are in Ghana. We don't remember, we don't recognize the border per se. Usually a lot of borders are like a stone, like a granite stone, just to say this is the border. But that's all it is. A lot of my grandfather's farms are actually in the Ghana side, right? The land is we still farm there. It belongs to us, So I grew up in that kind of environment where we go across the border, we do our farming, we do a lot of yam and cassava cultivation and all of that. So all of that was kind of my upbringing, So I grew up just doing the farm work, right? As a little kids, and not like a 2-year-old or anything like that, but like old enough to 11, 12, ish. Old enough to actually contribute, basically. Sorry, my phone is going off.
That's all right.
So I grew up on the kind of on the southern tips of the country, which is so the country is divided to a prefecture, right? Like a state. Like there are 4 states. So the southern part, which is where the capital is, called Lome. I'm talking about Togo right here. It's a lot of Ewe speaking folks. It's like a different dialect altogether, So in that region, it's a very humid. It's a tropic. If you look at the map, like if you look at the tropical of Capricorn, or like the equator, basically, we like above a little bit. So it's kind of like hot, humid. And so that's the type of environment that I grew up in. As far as travel, and it's a very friendly country, but the other thing is that it's ruled by dictators, right? So we had one ruler who was killed and one guy took over. He ruled for 27 years. He left, he put his son in there. His son has been ruling since then. So it's been like, that's Togo for you. And it's stable, it's very friendly to travel to. They don't give you a lot of issue with, you're not gonna have an issue traveling as far as foreigners, going there and hiking, etc. The food is great. The locals are very welcoming because they kind of demand that tourism money from Europeans. So a lot of Europeans come down to the south, or just fly down south and come to West Africa to check out the beach and explore, because they have lineage, like they have connection to the region because they speak French, so it's easy for French to come there. And English people also come there too, but the English tend to go to Nigeria or Ghana, but they're very friendly to other countries from the world, So it's not a bad place to travel. It's just that it's unknown to a lot of people. It's funny your podcast, Local Unknown. It's definitely one of the unknown places. So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of the country if you think about it. I know that I kind of brought up my mafia, but
no, that's exactly what we were looking for. Actually, you kind of summed everything up that we can just unpack over the next half hour or so. And I know Whitfield, this has been a region of the world that's been on top of your bucket list, right? For travel.
Oh, definitely. Yes, yeah. I've looked into it a lot recently, doing Dakar all the way down to Yaoundé, capital of Cameroon. I actually looked into buying a car and doing that, but it's quite a journey. Probably need at least 3 to 6 months to do it justice. So, but no, just there's so many things so many points that you raised there. Let's touch on a couple. So, for instance, in Ghana is kind of considered one of the African success stories in terms of democracy, in terms of economically. Take us through that a bit, because I think it's the only other African country apart from Botswana that's had successful democratic transition since independence. So I know you alluded to a little bit earlier, mostly a subsistence farming culture up north, but I've had several friends that have been there, really loved the beaches. The people were fantastic. So tell us a bit more about that, please.
Yeah, so Ghana has a rich history. Ghana was one of there's a port called Gold Coast, right? It's one of the major port that a lot of the slaves came from in the West Africa. Like, there is a memorial about the ports and the point of no returns, and it's in Ghana. The beaches are great. But Ghana, again, since inception and through, it's a Asante tribe, and it's very, very proud people. They have a very tribal kingdom. Every little village and every little sect has a kingdom associated with it, right? And they fall from the Ashanti tribe kind of thing.
Okay.
But now, since they won their independence, they have been the most well-run democratically, like election every year, peaceful, like nothing like you see in next door Cote d'Ivoire or Togo, where every time there's an election, it seems to be friction of the evil powers. There's people get killed, protests, etc. Ghana is more stable. It's a lot more stable. I mean, way more stable than it's really idle country, and idolized, like in terms of a model for what it could be. It has its problem, but it's welcoming. It's English spoken. They speak English there, so you feel welcome. They have awesome beaches. Again, I haven't been there in a while. I just watched the YouTubes, and I've been dying to go back, because my mom is actually going back this 27th of this month, and she wanted me to come along, but I'm like, oh, got to get my visa, and I wanted to go, but work, and I should just get up and go. But there are a lot of people that I think a couple years ago they had this thing called Year of Return, where they're allowing a lot of African Americans come back and discover their roots. And a lot of people from this country, they'll give you a visa and they say, okay, come, because here you belong. You're just coming back home. And that just on the African American side. But as far as other non-African American Europeans, everyone is welcome. And they have very, very a lot of historical site that you can visit and kind of just learn about the culture of slavery, what happened at the coast, and what they preserve as far as culturally. But as far as the government, again, I'll touch back on it. It's very democratic. They have election every year. When they won their independence, they had a guy called Kwame Nkrumah, which kind of Pan-African leader. Basically, He spoke a lot about, unity of the African continent itself, like having like a united state version of Africa, where all the African states would be united, would have one passport, one economy, etc. Just to make easier transfer of money, economy, etc. Then after that, he had Rawlings, J.J. Rawlings, who was the president. So they had a good transition every time they have a election. The rioting, what you see in the CNN as far as like protests and African election. So it's very peaceful. Like like you have some exposure. Your friend already told you about it. It's very easy to go there. Any visa is not that hard. They welcome foreigners. And Ghana, it's one of the. I was reading this recently. One of the largest producer of cocoa, right? If you think about chocolate, like everything, like chocolate is not grown in Switzerland or Europe. They just manufacture, but they get all the raw material from Ghana. And it's funny, I'm going to bring that up because I grew up, harvesting and cultivating cocoa, my grandparents, and coffee, and it's just one of the main stable way of making money. And one of the things most people don't know about coffee is that coffee plants are. I mean, I'm diverging here, but I'm going sidetracking. But coffee plants, when you plant in a particular land, usually it damages the soil, so you can't really plant anything else there for foreseeable future until you have to stop planting the coffee and let the land replenish itself before you can actually cultivate any other agricultural product. So it's one of those things where a lot of people in the village do it, but one of the things that I've noticed recently is like Ghana is trying to make the cocoa production more of a national product and output, right? Because right now it's run by local villages, right? Local farmers. So there is not a streamlined process of like, a mass production of everyone produce a little bit and then bring it up to a site and sell it and buy it and go to Europe and make the chocolate and cocoa, etc. But now they're trying to industrialize the process. Even go as far as making it more of they'll produce the raw material and they also manufacture chocolates in Ghana. That's one of the things that they're pushing for. So Ghana is striving to get into the producing side of things and also build their own car. They're not going to compete with Tesla and all the GM, but they are trying to build all those things, have an African production house, like hospital systems. A lot of things they're doing is really like what they have seen. Their new president is has a good vision for the future of what you see in the Western world as far as what he needs to improve. But there are also other issues, right? There's issue with sanitation, infrastructure. So those are the big things they're working on. But as far as safety, I don't think you have any problem. You're not gonna get killed. But like if you travel to any other country, you gotta be vigilant, right? There'll be people who are pickpocket. You don't want to go there, flashing your gold chain and your watch and your fancy iPhone. That just, you don't want to be ostentatious, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I got a lot of money, or no, you don't want to do that. You just want to blend in locally, which you guys have done. And I see Chris travel, and I'm, listening to you. I'm sure you will not have any problem blending in culturally and learning and be open to experience different things.
It's definitely a running theme so far in all of the episodes we've been able to shoot, where you do want to blend in, and every place does have its issues, does have its overall problems, but on the ground level, we find a consistency where people are genuinely open-hearted, welcoming, and it sounds like it's a well-traveled place in some regards. You mentioned the French, more Europeans, and the English as well, and you also mentioned your mom's going back, so. Given the fact that we're still in this global pandemic and we're shooting this August 2021, I find it important to ask what is going on as far as that goes, COVID-19. Are there any restrictions? Let's say not someone from with a background from the area, but in the tourism industry, are there any stoppages there that you know of?
I'll say two things. My mom went back a couple of times and she did not have any issue getting into the country. Like for the test, they assume they want American back into the country for tourism purposes. But coming back, she'll have to take a COVID test to show that you are negative before you get on a plane, because now you're flying Delta or American to come back to the state. They want you to have have to bring back a different version of but the cases there are very low. The vaccination is not that high because the government didn't buy a lot of the vaccines, right? They basically getting a lot of it outsourced from Europe, right? Because they're not going to have the resources to buy all the Pfizer or Moderna. So they're getting, I think, the AstraZeneca version and J&J version. But then it's also people who are skeptical about, the whole vaccination process in Africa. It's kind of like, well, what is this thing you're going to shoot in the arm? So that's, local things, and it can spread widely. But the cases are not that high. And it's like, this thing is spreading in a very congested environment too, right? And a lot of Africans, especially in the Central or Western African countries, it's very dispersed. Like villages are separated by a distance. So for you to actually get a transmission there, you got to see someone coming a long way, right? If someone is coming from like the city, you can tell this guy's coming from the city. We should put a mask around him. So there is that, nobody's getting a village by sneaking in. There was only one route in there, and everybody see you coming, basically. So anyone who's coming from outside world, you can spot them. I'll tell you another thing. Togo, the cases are also low. That's French colony, which my dad is from. My sister just went there a couple weeks ago. Actually, she's still there. She's coming back now. She just told me that they want her to get COVID vaccination to say that she's negative. So she has to take the test, and you have to pay for the test yourself. It's not like the government is giving that test for free. So by going there, they didn't even bother to ask her for the test. It's just like, come on in. But when you're leaving, Americans, airline will ask you for the vaccinations. Yeah. So those are the only things.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting regarding that is that Africa, the first couple waves of the virus, Africa fared better than any other continent in the world. And a couple of theories were put out about that. One, it's the youngest population demographically. Also, a lot of commerce is transacted outside. So there isn't so many opportunities as there are in other regions for super spreader events. Unfortunately, Southern Africa is going through quite a difficult stretch right now with their own variant. But to your point, I think that West Africa has, by and large, missed another big wave. So that's incredibly fortunate.
Yeah, and you can see countries that are more advanced, or in terms of, there are countries that are underdeveloped, developed, and developing, right? And I think the southern part of Africa, countries like South Africa, Namibia, they are more developing, right? They have a long history of European colonization. There are a lot of Europeans, so there's more larger concentration of metropolis there. So you're going to run into super spread events. People don't take precautions. Whereas in Western Africa, yeah, they do have that mostly in the marketplace. But again, on the village side, you're talking 10 kilometers apart, and people traveling by one car that comes into town once a day. I mean, you can pretty much quarantine everybody in one bus. So yeah. Yeah, so it's, and people who are coming to the village are people who have been there before. So if someone come leave the village and go to the city and coming back, you can tell they're not feeling well or who they interact with. And people who travel like that tend to keep themselves because they don't want to let the villager know that they're in town, so they can ask for their money.
I think that's great. Oh, sorry, go ahead. But yeah, I think that's a great segue into the fact I was going to ask you about the impact of tourism throughout the entire country. I mean, obviously the villages are outside. They're probably pretty untouched, but what type of infrastructure is set up specifically for the tourism industry beyond just the beautiful beaches, of course? What is there guided tour buses? Is this a hop on, hop off place? Or like Winfield, are we going to be trying to find a car and doing our own thing?
Yeah. I would say for Ghana and Togo, I would say get an escort, right? Get someone who traveled there or who already lives there and know the area around. And in fact, I've been here for a while now. Every time I go back, I still don't know most of the routes. My cousin has to drive me around. But then now, when I talk about infrastructure, like in a state where you can see a particular direction in the city, like marking, telling you where things are. Sometimes when they take me to somebody's house, I'm like, how do you know this is the house? It's almost like there's nothing here that said this belongs to this person that we're going to see. But they know because they just know, but it's not like where marked. I think they're doing quite a bit of work on that. And Togo side, I would say that there are bus system available from like the capital, and most chances are you're going to fly to Lome, which is the capital city. There are buses around, but I would advise if you travel to specifically Togo to either have someone who's meeting you there, who's going to drive you around and show you around. There are tons of Europeans there. There are French businesses in there for hotels and Airbnb. You can look at some of those, and they'll come to the airport to actually take you to your hotel and provide you logistics, etc. In Ghana, I think it's a little bit more. It's a lot more organized from what I've seen. But you also need some kind of escort to just show you the good part, show you what you want to see. Because if you're there for a limited amount of time, you wanted to maximize all the focal point what you want to go see. I would say the conversion rate for money is actually, it's in your advantage because you get more conversion of the $1, even in Togo and in Ghana, than if you were to go to Australia, right? Where it could be Australian dollars is a little equivalently higher than the American dollar,
sure,
versus British pound. So your money goes a long way, but I would say have an escort and learn the conversion rates, and also the value of product you get for the money that you spend. It's you get more for your bucks, basically. Yeah, I'll say that. But I would definitely advise you to look into some travel tourism for the first time. The second time, you could pretty much, be adventurous and still be safe. Yeah.
Sounds adventurous either way, but when you're talking about an escort, is this something that you think needs to be set up beforehand? Is there travel agencies that I can look into? Let's say if I'm going to try to get there before.
I think there are travel agencies.
Okay.
That will help you. Come in, we'll have an escort for you. Yeah.
So it's not like I show up at the airport and I just try to find somebody, I get the right vibe, and then from there we go.
No, if you go through a travel agency or a tourism guide, I think they'll come to the airport and pick you up, right? And take you to your hotel, and you can just manage with them where you want to go to see, etc. The other thing that I've seen people do is, go ahead.
I was saying I want to go to the beaches, of course.
Yeah, go to the beach board, yeah. The other thing that I've seen a lot of people do, and since you guys are doing a YouTube channel, is to connect with other YouTubers, right? So when you connect to other YouTubers who are already native in the country, when you go there, they already want to show you. They want to show you local food, local scenery, all the stuff that you want to explore, and they want to have those episodes on the channel to show, oh, you come there, and just they want to have you visit and show you around. So I would say connect to one of the guys that I watch is called Wada Meyer. He's all over the place, but I'll share his link with you. But he's just trying to show the African narrative to the world a different way, basically. So one thing I noticed they have done is just talk to other YouTubers. So when you get to the country, be like, oh, I'm in town. Where other YouTubers? I want to find out where you are. Let's meet. Let's talk about your culture. And I find that it's almost like a guerrilla way of marketing yourself to find a tourist. And you guys are on the same platform. You don't have to worry about paying these guys. They might let you stay in their place. So
it's an awesome tip in general. No matter where you go, that's a real good travel tip.
Yeah. So I haven't gotten to the YouTube thing.
Channel.
Oh, you got a podcast, so you definitely.
We're getting there. We're getting there for sure.
No, that is a great travel tip, and not something that people would necessarily think of right off the top of their head, because you go to a place and you think, okay, how do I vet this person, or how do I connect with somebody? But that's definitely great advice. So you mentioned culture earlier, and I wanted to ask you, depending on who you ask, some people say that voodoo originated in Benin, others say Togo. And there's quite a bit of, at least in some villages that I've noticed in Togo, economy related to voodoo, whether it be sacrificial items or things of that nature that are used in rituals. So, can you give us a bit of context about what it is and how do we find it or experience it?
You want to experience voodoo?
Well, maybe not. That's part of the question.
I don't.
Well, there you have
it. So I'll tell you, okay, two things. The origination of voodoo, I would say, yes, it's most Central Africa, the slave brought into the New World, and it's part of, some Caribbeans and Brazilian culture, Afro-Brazilian culture. Benin has a lot of practice, and then they still practice a lot of that. It's basically a religious animism, basically, believe in spiritual nature, etc. And the voodoo, I think it's the ceremony to worship. When I was growing up, I was scared of that thing. I was scared of that thing because I had nightmares of, like, see ghosts and worrying about see things that are not there. I'm like, nah, that's not for me. But it's not a bad religion per se. It was something that was indigenous to the native before colonization happened, right? And what colonization did is introduce Christianity to West Africans and most Africans, right? And then they adopt Christianity because they look at it and be like, oh, Western religion. These people got gun and steel, and they're traveling over. Their God must be better than our gods. So let's believe in that God, But as for origination, I mean, Benin practice a lot of it. Togo is border Benin, so there's a town in Togo that is so Aneho is very close to Benin. They practice a lot of it. Even in my village, that was part of it until I think it's still part of the tradition. Not like the voodoo itself, but the whole spiritual, the whole burial process. I think it has changed now because there's so many different flavor of Christianity now throughout the world of West Africa. It's almost become like business, like the church is like, I think it's a wrong business because all they're doing is just take advantage of the poor, collect the money, and yeah, that's another topic. But if you wanted to experience it, I think even throughout the whole Western part, like even Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, there's quite a bit of practicing, but it's mostly now localized to the village side, people who keep that authentic traditional practice, right? Because it's part of their or forefathers, and they haven't completely adopt the whole Western behavior, or Western Christianity. So it's part of who they are. But as far as voodoo itself, the ceremonies are a bit too intense for my liking. I tend to stay away from that. But it's something to experience. If you wanted to experience it, I'm sure they'll be willing to make sure you get a tour guide.
Exactly. Well,
yeah. I mean, if you want to sit on the side, just watch them. Yeah. Right. Get a tour guide. Again, the whole thing about animal sacrifice and human sacrifice. Have I seen it? Nope. Have other people seen it and said so? They said so. To each his own. But I find it scary when I was a kid, and since then my grandparents were Christian Presbyterians, so we kind of follow that. But there were people in our village that practiced the spirituality of voodoo, and the burial process is entrenched in that. But every Sunday. It's funny how Sunday is the day that they play the drum and everything, but they usually do a lot of ceremony, and you can hear it as far as, you know, maybe a couple 10 miles away. You can hear the drum beating, and it's a festival. And yeah, yeah. If you're looking for it, you'll find it. It's Africa. If you're looking for anything, you can find it.
Great summary.
I'm the type of guy that won't even go to a horror movie here in the States. So
There you go.
I don't think I'm going to be heading in that direction. But you did kind of touch on a point there, and Winfield and I have discussed this in the past, and it's talking about that philanthropic tourism or traveling, really. And we hear all about it. And, you know, Winfield and I have actually looked at opportunities to be able to go volunteer overseas, but to make an impact, because from what I found, a lot of the times over here, at least what you find on the internet and what's accessible to us just through mainstream channels seems to be a little bit overkill, where you're buying into the opportunity to go and do charity work or humanitarian work overseas. Do you happen to have any insight on that, at least when it comes to Ghana or Togo, having those trips? Do you find that it's impactful? You know, I've heard some negative stories where there's opportunities to go and help villages in various parts of the world, whether it be schools, churches, or hospitals, and it turns out that that village doesn't necessarily need it. Do you know what I mean by that, or have you seen that at all?
I've seen people come to the country, even on the village side, to help. You know, from outside, well, like, you know, white Europeans and other people from the city side that are Africans. Yeah, it's still there. The NGO is still very, very present. I mean, even when Ebola happened, that's when usually people rush there to help, right? Schools, there are a lot of, I think one of the things that's happening now in a lot of African countries is America kind of have not turned its back, but just focus somewhere else, like Middle East and Eastern, Southeast and Asia, etc. Whereas China has moved into more of that role, like not the NGO role per se, but more of the infrastructure, the economy side. So you see a lot of Chinese and a lot of these African countries just building things. Even they don't even care about dictators, right? They just want to build the relationship and get the raw material back to China to process it and manufacture it. But European NGOs, to answer your question, are still there. They're still that relationship with former colonies. There's a little bit of a pushback on the colony to tell the Europeans, like, don't tell us what to do, right? Because you have been looking at us for a long time. We haven't made a lot of progress, so we're looking for new partners to help us build infrastructure, right? Because that's one of the things that a lot of European power neglect. They did build infrastructure early on, help build infrastructure early on before World War I and World War II, or World War I and World War II. Then after that, it was just kind of like, well, everything was starting crumbling, right? Because they didn't take care of it. Now there's a need for new manufacturing bill for a lot of these African countries. And one of the thing that a lot of young Africans are seeing is like, you can be educated, like you can go to school, do everything, and get the highest degree, but you have to know someone within the government to get a job because of that corruption. So a lot of them are fleeing to go to Europe. It's a different topic than what you asked, but there are roles for NGO. If you are there on the missionary role, you can definitely go to the villages and feel safe because you have a clear mission. You know, you're there to help a particular cause. As far as people going there and not finding out that there's no need for it, I mean, that can happen. But I think there are a lot of needs depending on what you're trying to do. Maybe you go there and it's already a hospital there, right? So that I know my aunt right now, she has a relationship with some other folks in Germany where a student from Germany will come and stay with them and just to learn, like, thing about Africa culture, and not even African culture, like the Togolese and what they do, etc. There's that relationship. So she hosts like a bunch of students that come from Europe and stay in her place and just learning and stay there. And like last time we were together, when I went back, I was like, I saw so many Europeans there just chilling, and it's a bit scary too when you have them, the Rastafarian, and just smoking ganja. It's kind of like, what is this? But there are people who come there to do the mission work, and there are people who come there for vacation and go to the beach. So yeah, they're there.
Which may offer an entirely different way to see both countries as well.
Yes.
A little bit off the beaten path, giving back, and truly giving and offering value to the place that you're in. And that's what we always like to see. You know, it's unfortunate when it's just more of a money trap opportunity to play on people's heartstrings in a way, not to say anyone's doing in that particular, but we've definitely seen some instances. But either way, whether we're helping build some infrastructure or helping the country overall, or I'm just lazying out on the beach, I have to eat, right? So I definitely want to ask you the food and what it's like in both countries. You guys have a staple dish that you just are craving all this time?
Yeah. So the whole Western African country have a similar dish all around. Like the fufu is kind of staple across the region. It's basically pounded yam with it could be a goat meat or lamb meat in stew. You eat it with your hand. There's a palm oil that is heavily used throughout the whole Western, like Nigeria, all the way to Dakar, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal. Then it's gali, which is kind of like think of a dry cassava yuca. So you make into powder and kind of like a tapioca material. So there are different influences, traditional dish like that, right? Then there's also heavily French and European, heavily French and English influence in the diet. So I'll give you an example. Ghana, for its rich and historical nature and having all this good place you can go and being democratic, not good and die. No. This is not a shot to my mom or anything like that. It's good, but I think Togo has a bit of an infusion of French, so there's more of those French bakery thing that you see that is integrated into the culture. So you see like a lot more street food are more delicious to me. That's my bias, right? Because if you were to if you were to have a street meat in the farm, I mean in the marketplace, you see stuff like, oh, what is this? And you're like, it looks like, oh, a little pastry thing. Oh yeah, it has a French influence, but it's made locally. So it's a lot of that because that's gonna happen because you have two cultures being intertwined. And there will be an exchange of ideas, etc. So you have traditional African, fufu, gali, and lamb, goat. We don't eat a lot of cow because that's Eastern African. I think cow is kind of like not a lot of it around that area. I guess it's kind of delicacy. I think to me, when I was growing up, cow was delicacy. We only have it once a year, Christmas and New Year's, or twice a year. So, but lambs, yeah, we graze. We herd cow, not cow, goat and lamb. So that's chicken. So that's our staple meat. So that's part of the diet. So again, there's a lot of food that you can try. I would be careful anything that looks so wild animals. Yeah, I would be careful about that, not to eat anything wild. Like they'll tell you if this is like roadkill or something like that, but they'll tell you. But there's not a lot of roadkill. Actually, stuff that are like I'm talking about wild animals, stuff that have been killed in the wild, basically.
Sure.
Yeah, but mostly goat, chicken, lambs, and palm oil. It's very prevalent throughout Western Africa, even Ghana. But in Togo, again, the infusion of French is definitely in the diet. Yeah. So go to Togo and try the food.
No, of course. Now you're making us all hungry. No, and to your point about fusion, it's really interesting because throughout the former Francophone world, and I guess current Francophone world in some respects, there's this fusion. For instance, I was in Haiti earlier this year, and to your point, there was a lot of local dishes and local cuisine that had an underlying French influence. So, but it was also mixed with some West African staples. So that's very pervasive, especially in the Francophone world, at least from my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that if every French colony will have that. If even like Polynesia, they will have some of the French influence. Anywhere when the French start, they dive into food, stick around a little bit. It's a good thing. Yeah, mixture of cultures. Yeah.
Well, it definitely sounds adventurous to go to both places, but once we're there and we have our guide, what might he suggest? So what are we going to do? Let's say I have about, I don't know, I usually say about 7 days to spend in either country is fine. You know, what do you think would be the best to get into there?
Okay. For Togo, I would say, in West Africa, don't worry too much about safari. We know safari is not a thing. That's Kenya and Serengeti. You get that in Eastern Africa, and that's different exploration. I said marketplace. Check the food. Check the local attires. You know, wear and tear. Like the clothing. Hiking, because West Africa, it has a lot of mountain. Like a lot of it's very mountainous. Like a lot of mountains there.
I was going to ask you about the landscape and
the landscape. Yeah, a lot of mountains, a lot of beach. So check the beach. Check the local hangout, like in the city center, and check the historical site. For Ghana, I would suggest check all the former slave holding, like point of no return. You know, the historical fact that the transatlantic slave trade, etc. That's they have a lot of that. In Togo, they have few, but you gotta go look for it. Your guy probably will give you that tour. In Togo, again, market, dish, a local travel to the village side. So a lot of the villages are like a lot of waterfall. There are some hidden gem waterfall that your tourist your guide can give you a tour to. Growing up, I'm not a fan of waterfalls. It tend to be quite a hike to get there. No, as a farm boy, tell me to go hike to see a water. It's like, just carry a pound of yam, my salt, my head, and just to come back to this village, and you tell me to go back and look at the water. Come on, I just passed by. So yeah, that stuff like that. I think if you keep it to those safari, so in Togo, the northern part is a different tribe, and that's where you see a lot. So you see a lot of the elephants and wild animals. But the southern part, like half tier of the country, which are the 2 states, you see mostly hiking trail, mountain, good waterfalls. Yeah, that's pretty much in the western part of the Africa. Yeah. And check the Nicing in Ghana. I would recommend the Nicing, and also hanging out like in the cabana by the beach and just explore. And on a lot of the beach are not overly commercialized. It's like naturally, water comes in and out, and whatever's left is the beach. It's not like a soft beach,
No, and in Lome and Accra, from what I've heard, the nightlife rivals that of Abidjan, Lagos. It's quite famous for West Africa. Can you give us a insight about that?
They've been stepping it up recently. I think they started this thing called Afrochella.
What's it called?
Afrochella, like Coachella.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Afrochella. Yeah. So all these Afrofusion musicians come to Ghana to perform once a year. I think they had it last year. It was a big thing. It's like, one of the other things that's the music of Africa. It's kind of like the Afrobeat, Afrofusions. It's like it's almost a new genre of music going on. So a lot of the artists are doing that right now, trying to, come to Africa and do those concerts, kind of replicate what they do in the States, music festival, etc. But yeah, the nice thing, it's I see it on YouTube. That's all I have to say.
Go check out YouTube then.
Go check out YouTube. Yeah. Go check out YouTube. I live vicariously to YouTube. That's how I get all my African, fix. Why travel? You can get it on YouTube, right? Oh, man.
I'm pretty sure we said the opposite when we wanted to start this podcast. No, we don't want to look at YouTube. We want to go and experience it.
You guys are doing it the right way, authentic way. I'm here slacking.
The whole point is your way, right? So whatever works for you. But yeah. I just love doing these interviews and having these conversations because it makes me want to go. And unlike Winfield, honestly, you've alluded to it, Agbessi, and told me stories in the past, but it was never all the way up there on the top of my list. And after listening the last 30, 45 minutes to all of this, it's nothing that I would expected or I had envisioned in my mind. So this is awesome. Really cool.
Yeah. So Winfield, do you plan to go like after COVID or?
Yes, I've been toying with it for several years. We had a guest on earlier from Haiti, one of our friends as well, and he's been wanting to do Senegal for a long time. So when we were in Haiti together, we started. I unveiled my master plan of overland travel, as I mentioned earlier, from Dakar to Yaoundé, and just looking at some of because through the Gambia and Sierra Leone, Liberia. Some of the roads you can't even really find on Google Maps that well. So to your point about a guide, I think it's almost essential in certain parts of the region, just because so many things change, and there really isn't a one-stop resource that's up to date.
Yeah.
But I've, as I said, I've been wanting to do it for years, and hopefully in the next several years. But that's it's something that takes a lot of planning, and obviously you have to get all of the right pieces in place. So
yeah, and I think planning is a great thing to do, because if you want to explore from like Senegal, Gambia to Guinea-Bissau down to like Africa, also all the way down to Cameroon, which is very unstable right now. I would say you start off, Senegal, go to Gambia, but pick a home base, like one of the country in either Ghana or Senegal. Pick it as a home base, right? That's where you're going to be for the next 6 months, right? And you're just going to explore that area and explore regionally, and you come back.
Okay.
And I think you get more out of it that way. If you go for 2 weeks, just stay in one country.
Right. Yeah. Immersion.
Yeah. Immersion. Yeah. And I know Chris has done this when he was out in Southeast Asia. He kind of did that, the whole. And I think having a home base and just explore when you need to give you more enrichment than if you were just to go for one country at a time, which is very expensive and could be costly. Senegal definitely will be the top of my list of country, which is funny that Senegal is mostly Muslim country, and it's also very stable. Like they have elections every year. You don't hear them trying to kill each other that often. And I also think it's because they have that majority of the ethnic people are Muslim, so it's just stay together. So it's a good country. They also have a lot of historical facts. It's really close to Cape Verdean, so you have that whole island feel to it. And it also was one of the port too. So yeah, Senegal definitely. If you speak a little French, and if you don't speak a little French, you can manage.
Un peu.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. It's not that Google Translate would help you with. Google Translate is your friend. Yeah.
So we're all in Senegal then.
Yeah. Senegal.
I understand now. Yeah.
Have you thought about Namibia, Uganda, and Rwanda? I know
No, definitely. So I've been
Yeah.
to South Africa. I went to South
Okay.
Africa in 2014, and for a while I've tried to focus on either doing Mozambique and Zimbabwe next. I speak Portuguese. My wife's
Oh,
Brazilian.
Angola. There you go.
Yeah, Angola as well, Luanda, of course. Yeah, and so from East African success stories, Rwanda really stands out. They banned plastic bags recently. They have a very clean and
Yeah.
orderly capital. Not necessarily the most democratic government, but
No.
Kigali has come a
Yeah.
long way from the horrors of 1994. So
Absolutely.
I think that also Uganda as well, Kampala is really undergoing a renaissance. So that's definitely on the list at some point. It's I'd like to do a regional aspect. I also wanted to go into the Congo, to the eastern part. Obviously, that's very hit or miss depending on the latest situations in terms of politically and otherwise. But there's a beautiful lake there, and there's a lot to see. I believe it's Goma in the eastern part of the city. So that's the thing, is that we have to remember Africa is 54 countries. It's not just a monolithic continent. You have vast Sahara, you have savanna, you have plains, you have mountains. It's an incredible. You have multiple steppes even the further south you go. So it's an incredibly diverse, rich place. And what makes it the most special are the people.
Yeah. Go to the desert and the beach in Namibia.
Exactly, the skeleton coast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lake Victoria by the Mountain Kilimanjaro, Tanzania. You got Zanzibar. Yeah, you got tons of places. It's just I'm proud of you guys are trying to do this, and you have done it. It's great because most people don't travel and stay in their little corner all their lives. You miss out. It's a big world. Yeah, it's a big world. Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to do more often. Like, when I want to travel for vacation, go to Africa, a different African country, try to, but I got to start with Ghana first because I'm slacking. I'm slacking. But yeah, so that's awesome. Proud of you guys doing that. That's great.
Appreciate it. Travel not only offers the amazement and the adventure, but just to see different ways of life, knowing that there are other ways of doing things. And that was actually kind of some of the inspiration behind our lightning round that we'll have coming up here in just a few seconds. But the answers to these questions differ from person to person. Of course, yes, it's going to differ, even if it's family members or you have the same upbringing. But I think it really sheds a light on a lot of cultural aspects too, just around the world. What do people value? Where do they see themselves? What do they want to aspire to? And that's me, I think is awesome. So don't worry. I know before we started recording, we did say this is a pass fail type thing, and no one's failed so far. No one's failed so far. So we're going to have fun with it. See how it goes.
So if I fail, I don't come by on the podcast?
We didn't publish this episode yet, so we'll see.
Okay, I have to go to editing room first.
Yeah,
right?
we're working on our editing game here.
Trial by fire. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man. So are you ready? It's 10 quick questions.
Yeah.
All
Go
right.
ahead, shoot it.
So we're gonna do number one. One wish. What would it be?
For me,
Fail. No, I'm just kidding.
one wish, I want to travel more. Yeah, I want to travel more.
Awesome. Which country do you want to visit the most and why?
Wow. I think I'm gonna go to Madagascar. It's because yeah, and Seychelles, right? Go down there and see those big giant turtles, whatever they have. I think they live for 200 years, sort of 60 minutes or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, and also the beach. Yeah, I don't swim, but I like to be close to the water. Yeah, Seychelles and Madagascar, I would love to go to.
Awesome.
Before I leave this earth.
So I know we talked about both Togo and Ghana, so you can pick either one, but what's one place or thing in your country you still really want to do?
I wanted to go to the Gold Coast in Ghana, just to see the point of no return. That's where the point of no return is. Yeah, I want to see that.
That's definitely something that's stood out to me when you said it, for sure.
Yeah, just because historical relevance. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, Agbessi, strangest thing you've eaten?
This is gonna get me in trouble. Kangaroo brain.
Ooh, okay.
I had that in Australia. I was like, just like a lamb. But I never eaten lamb brain before, though. But yeah. Kangaroo brain.
Kangaroo brain. That is interesting.
At least that's what it told me.
What's that?
At least that's what it told me was on the plate.
No, we'll stick with it because that definitely, I think Winfield, that tops the list so far.
It does. It does. You won that question.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So what's your favorite thing about either Togo, Ghana, or you can speak about the region in general, whatever you prefer?
Favorite things. I mean, of course, families, right? Families all there. The weather. It's hot, but it's hot for a reason. That's and how, like, it's funny, like when I go home, I don't do anything else, just go see all my family members. That's my whole vacation. I just seeing family members until my 10 days finish. So I like that because I don't see them that often. So I don't get to explore the greater city or anything like that. I just stay with them and just explore locally. So I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then what's the must-see attraction in your country, Togo, Ghana, the region? We can just go with that.
I would say go, it's not an attraction, but go to the marketplace in both countries. Yeah, go to the marketplace and you see how lively people are, and poverty is in, you see a poverty, but you also see that people are living their lives. No one is really crying like you go to the marketplace and just see how lively people are trying to sell you stuff and trying to greet you and say hello to you. And definitely. And if I travel anywhere, even when I went to Australia, I went to the marketplace. I just got to feel what's in there. Like I mean, it can be more touristic, but it's still like you feel a lot of local love down there. You should go to the marketplace.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the fact that the same holds true outside, because I really feel you can get your finger on the pulse, understand the heartbeat of an area based off of where people congregate, and the marketplace is always a good place for sure. You see a lot of cultural aspects in there. Yeah. All right, so you've already shed some light on an awesome tip about reaching out to YouTubers, especially in certain areas of the world, but what's one tip you would have for travelers?
Get your papers and vaccination in order. Yeah. Like if you go in tropical region, get a yellow fever, go to the State Department and make sure all your vaccinations are in order, especially in the tropical areas. Just check all the box. You can do all that local vaccine here. I won't trust local vaccinations on visiting country, because sometimes, yes, I'm sure they're not giving you, liquid water, but they'll charge you arms and legs at the airport, and because they'll hold you after traveling 8 hours. Now you have to sit in the airport just going to custom for vaccination. It's not fun. Get all that paperwork in order, so when you're in the country, you just walk out, get your tour guide, and just have a cool drink in your hand before you lose your shit.
Great tip, and I think that's a forgotten point too. You definitely want to make sure you have all your vaccines in order beforehand. Yeah. Get on the beach sooner, right?
Get on the beach sooner. Go straight from the airport to the beach.
All right. I know that obviously during COVID, we've all been kind of limited as far as travel goes. But when you do have the availability and option to travel, Agbessi, what's your motivation? So what motivates you to travel?
Learning and cultural enrichment, like just learning new culture and getting myself exposed to like other people's. Like right now, we're on YouTube, right? We're just talking, right? Yes, other people could be doing this next door or another place or another space and time. But in every environment or every space, there are identical behavior of human happening. So if I get to experience that by traveling in time to go see it, it's great. But if I'm just sitting at home and just watching it on YouTube or watching TV, you are really losing out time here. So yeah, traveling, get that experience, getting to know people, getting to, say hi to people. Because there's a lot of people in the world. You get to meet like millions of them before you die. That's a blessing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right. So you touched on this as well. Which mode or modes of transportation do you recommend for your country?
Oh, okay. So in Togo, they got this thing called Chimiza, which is basically motorcycle riders. You get on the back of the motorcycle rider, they can take you anywhere you want to. Dangerous, very risky. Could be fun, but dangerous. Literally dangerous. I'll try that. If you have to go somewhere in a rush, but mostly taxi. You won't see the taxi like yellow mark or anything like that. It's just someone in the car with just like taxi. They'll know you're a passenger right away. In Togo, mostly that's how you find those. In Ghana, I think it's more structured. There are bus systems. You can take buses, and there are train systems to get you from different. If you're going long distance, like longer cities separation. Yeah, so bus systems, taxi, and tour guide. If you're doing it for the first time, I say tour guide.
Tour guide.
Within country though, but if you have to fly, just do it locally.
And when you do link up with a tour guide, is it usually a private car? He's driving you around in his own car type?
It could be a private car, or it could be in a group of other folks.
Cool.
Which, bring a new experience also.
Absolutely. All right, so we're 9 out of 10 in. So how do you feel? You okay, Agbessi? We got one more to go.
Feel good.
Yeah, you got it. All right, so if there is one experience you could relive in your life, what would it be? It doesn't have to be travel related. It's just one experience.
Well, it's gotta be travel because I think I missed out on my chance to go to New Zealand when I was in Australia because I was traveling with friends and I had to come back in the state because of some stupid thing. And now I'm like, oh man, how am I gonna get there again? It's such a long way to go to Australia, and having to miss out on New Zealand, which is just like 2 hours flight. Yeah, that was one thing that I kind of regret not doing that. So, but yeah, that's the only thing so far. Yeah. On the travel. Yeah. Like, when you travel and when you have a chance to do something, it's good to travel and having finance and economic and your money, how much you can afford, but talking yourself out of experiencing things, just the fact that you don't have the need to, or you have the need but you don't want to do it, I think it's regretting. You regret something when you leave that area. So I say yes to everything.
Yeah, there you go. Just say yes with caution, right?
Yes, with caution, exactly. Yep, absolutely.
That's it. Winfield and I have talked about this numerous times, just a little bit inching that comfort level, that box further and further. No big leaps necessarily, but if you just take an inch a day, you might find, looking back, you're miles away from where you started.
Oh, another one is when I went to Brazil, we decided to go to an island off the Rio. And this island is, you cannot bring a trash can, or like it's the most organic island. They had to hike all the way there. So we took a boat and we landed on a smaller island, and we had to hike to an exclusive island that no one is in there. So we got there with late at night, and it was a group of us, and we decided to sleep on the beach, right? Because we didn't plan to be like staying there for a night. But we're like, oh, if we can't come back, we could just sleep on the beach. We got there. I was like, a crabs all over the beach. Like, I'm not having it tonight. We are not gonna get eaten by this little monsters.
Whether it's that or mosquitoes, yeah.
And mosquitoes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
man.
So we end up just paying off this local lady who basically let us crash in her place. And I think your question, would I regret or will I ever do it again or something like that? I don't regret doing that. I think next time I will not plan to sleep on the beach, not knowing what comes out at night on the beach.
Only during Carnival when there are no rooms left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with the Copacabana, right? Do that there, but not in some random island off the Rio. So, yeah,
I think we all have a couple stories like that, but it always seems like the idea of sleeping on the beach and how romantic that might sound, it never lives up to that. It is always something completely different that you're just like, yeah, well, bed doesn't sound too bad. I'll take a hammock even. Like, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's great. Well, man, we made it through all 10. I'm going to say you passed. What do you think, Winfield?
Oh, definitely.
That was awesome.
Excelled at it.
All right, awesome.
This was just a great time. Again, Agbessi, we really appreciate you coming on. It was awesome to hear all about both Ghana, Togo, and the entire region. So, and just catching up with you in general. It's been way too long.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. This has been absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you again for your time. Really enjoyed the insights and hope to stay in touch in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. Cool. Until then, enjoy that crazy Miami-ness, huh?
Oh my God. Yeah. Storm.
Yeah. Yeah, it is coming up on 3 o'clock local time. So
man.
again, Messi, appreciate it, man. Man. Stay in touch.
All right. You too. Take care, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
That was awesome. So I hope you guys really did find some value in Agbessi talking about Togo and Ghana, West Africa. And then he went all around talking about the region. Him and Winfield went on a nice little tangent there, took us through a virtual road trip opportunity. So we loved it. We definitely thought that he offered some great tips. How about that tip where you reach out to YouTubers, whether you're a YouTuber yourself or not? I just find that awesome. I'm going to use that any place I go. What about you, Winfield?
Definitely. One really stands out. And it's something that might not be obvious to everybody, and it surely wasn't obvious to me. But between that and having a local just to show you the ins and outs and trying to get as much of a foothold on the ground as possible, I think those are really key takeaways. Thanks again for listening today. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're Locales Unknown. Also, wherever you get your podcast, please review us. Let us know what you think. Always open to comments, questions, anytime, anywhere, whatever you need. We're here for you. Until next time, take care.